Very, very excited to see them. We've been so lucky to spend the amount of time that we have with them. And then, of course, there's the fact that Herbert found the new Nkuhuma den, also known as the Oompa Loompa den. Thanks very much to Rebecca for that. Herbert, not Dave. Dave was on camera with me this morning. Herbert found the Nkuhuma's youngest set of cubs not far away from the Vuyatela Dam, from Djuma Dam. Now that is really, really exciting stuff, because it means that we're going to be seeing them more and more frequently. Dave and myself were surprised by a lioness this morning and her 2 young cubs. We were sitting casually with an elephant herd, at which point Dave goes, "Lion." No, it wasn't. It was with an even more questioning tone. It was sort of, "Lion?" It was amazing. So we had a really nice surprise visit from her. Unfortunately, where we were, we couldn't get past the elephants in order to try and follow her, but she did go into a really, really difficult area. And when we tried to follow her, we discovered that actually we didn't have any signal there anyway. So as you can imagine, with the highs and lows of the terrain, it does make a difference in terms of broadcasting a live safari from the middle of the African bush. So far, so good. We seem to be okay. I'm sort of inching closer and closer to where Wendy might not be able to go. Dave, do you know the way here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. That is marvellous news. What you fighting about, you lot? What's up? Ah. They were having a little go at each other, but they seem to have calmed down. A group, starting off the morning with a group of crested francolin. No, it's not morning, it's afternoon. I may or may not have had a little nap that makes it feel a bit like morning. Hello. Part of the spur fowl family. You can see the spur, that looks like a male to me. Just on the back of his legs there is a spur protruding. It is his... It's a residual toe. And it's hardened and more calloused and slightly larger in the males. And they use that for fighting each other in a way that is relatively entertaining, as you can imagine, because it is, of course, on the back of their foot rather than the front. It means they have to try and sort of reverse kick in a Chuck Norris-style dance in order to utilize them. Oh, there's one right next to the vehicle. Oh, what you got? Ran away with whatever it was. It actually looks like it's eating some sort of cricket or something similar. And having to scrape its bill clean on the grass. Okay. But our leopard cubs await us, and I simply cannot wait any longer. So I'm going to carry on and go and find them, because I'm too excited. Sorry, Franklin. Enjoy your afternoon. Now, don't forget, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, that you can send through questions on... Oh, how lovely. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Or you can email through on questions@wildearth.tv. Why, for example, perhaps these zebra would find themselves on the top of a termite mound. Might be an example of a question you might ask. The answer, of course, is because termite mounds tend to have a slightly higher nutritional level to their soils, and therefore the plants that grow on them tend to maintain their nutritional content a little bit longer. This looks like where we were going to go anyway. I see Brent's off-road tracks leading me down towards the Mulwati. And so... do we dare to go into the Mulwati without our Gowrie signal? How brave are we feeling? Pretty brave. I feel pretty brave. I feel confident we will be absolutely fine. All right. Let's try to go into the Mulwati drainage line itself. Wow, it's hot today. Supposedly it's 27 and 80, but I have to tell you, in the sun I think it's warmer. So 27 centigrade, 80 Fahrenheit, in case that needed clarifying, although I don't see how you could possibly mix them up. Whew, very warm. And that sun is starting to get its summer strength back. It's back to sunblock for us each and every day. That gentle layer, or that sort of layer of sunblock that builds up on your skin throughout a summer day, collecting dust along the way. Hello, Zebbies. I'm not coming off-road to look at you, I promise, even though you are lovely. Don't get me wrong. Had some interesting zebra behavior yesterday. There is also, for those of you who are sharp-eyed, really sharp-eyed, there is also a waterbuck, but it is hidden at present behind the zebra on the left. I can't see it anymore. There was a waterbuck bull as well. Oh, we're about to get to my absolute favourite part of Djuma, one of my favourite spots in Djuma. Well done, Dave. There's the waterbuck. He's beautiful. Let's go, guys, because we won't have forever to spend with those cubs before we have to make room for other vehicles. So we've got to make hay while the sun shines, or at least take advantage of the sighting before anybody else is out on their afternoon safari. We can always come back and look at these zebra later. While I attempt to find my way in, because word on the street is that it's difficult to get in here, let's go over to Brent and find out how his search for the the Nkuhumas is going.
Well, see, unfortunately for me, I don't have to search for an Oompa Loompa. I've got one on camera. So I am continuing my search for the Nkuhuma pride. But while we're there, I just noticed this beautiful big kudu bull. Hello, mister. There's lions about. You better watch yourself. There we go. There's an even bigger bull coming through from the back. I'll wait for him to clear the bush. And some impalalas. Very, very still. About 27 degrees Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit. And at this time of the day, a lot of your sort of noisy insects and birds are completely silent. And here comes that big kudu bull now. He's bigger than the first one. Massive spread on his horns. And there he is. Beautiful. Mating leopards. I'm pretty sure I just heard mating leopards just down the drag. Well, sorry about that. From Sedaj Kudu, we need to get into that area. So they mate quite quickly, especially if it's new mating. I would have guessed not far. Probably just north of Djuma Dam. This could be very interesting because Karula is not far from here as well. What's she going to do? Sorry, impalalas coming through. I'm looking for cats who are in the moment, let's say that. Now I know Jamie said she thought she heard was possibly mating lions or leopards this morning. But her car was on. We were fortunate that our car was off at that very moment. I want to say that in here, which is quite interesting because it's the same area where we think the rest of the Nkuhuma pride is. Okay, so hold on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up into where I thought I heard them, which is the top of this little gully over here, a little drainage gully. And then I'm going to switch off and listen again. Or we might just be lucky enough and spot them. And that is the one positive about the dry season and a drought. Spotting animals is a little bit easier when there's not lots of grass about. I wonder who it could be, because I know Tingana went on to Hoffman's, and could the old boy Mvula be at it again? Or could it be the ghost from the north, Kajima? we were there, so I'm saying, I think they were right about here. Anywhere from this termite mound in front of us, heading north up this little river system. Now what quite often happens, if the lions are around and they hear those leopards mating, they quite often go chase them. But we could be in for a treat. They're still in parlor there, and they're looking completely relaxed. How exciting! Okay, I'm gonna sit on my door, get a bit of a better look around here. That's such a distinct sound. The one problem is after mating, sometimes they do move and then lie down and sleep. So I'm going to head up right to the head of this little river system. Keep checking under all the bushes here. So this is one of the few times, we don't track following tracks. We track by our ears. Of course, when lions are roaring is another time, or leopards calling. Come on, kitties. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to find a spot for Chandra and I to sit quietly and listen. So it's normally about 15 minutes, sometimes as short as 10 minutes if they've just started mating, between bouts of mating. And hopefully we will hear them. I think it's probably been about 6 minutes since the last one. Now I think we're almost bang on the money to where we heard it from. Maybe a little bit further to the east. So actually I think I'm going to pop myself in the shade here and listen quietly. Fingers crossed. This is really exciting because, I mean, who could it be? So, you can see how close we are to Djuma itself. There's the FC antenna. Well, my Instagram picture of the day was of the wrong mating pair. So we're going to sit here really quietly and listen, looking for mating leopards. Now, there are 3 leopards there. There's 2 leopards here. We might be able to equal the Safari Live record of 5 leopards in a drive. Fingers crossed. So let's speak.
Oh, there you go. Isn't this exciting news? I knew this morning, didn't I say, Dave? There's something mating next to Sydney's dam. So this is really, really exciting. But in the meantime, since Brent has lost signal, we have something to keep you equally happy. My first time seeing the little cubs in what feels like forever, but is probably only about a month or so. No, yeah, about a month or so. And my goodness, I know this sounds very silly because of course they've grown, that's what babies do. Oh. But they really have grown. Hey Hosanna, look how big you're getting. Did you catch Mom? Oh, look at this. Can you believe we are watching leopard cubs live from the middle of the African bush? Does this not astound you every day? Look at the love coming from Karula. Gently cleaning off her little boy, making sure he hasn't missed any spots, while he's been feeding on the impala kill that she caught for them. Hey, Mom, not my ear. Not in my ear. Look at me, I'm a fierce predator. Don't need to be cleaned. Oh, he's gorgeous. Might be my imagination, but he's starting to me, looks quite stately almost. He's definitely got a dignity to him that I haven't noticed before. He really truly does. There's something, I don't know what it is, an air of stateliness about him, as if he knows how famous he is, and he accepts it as his due. Going over to his sister, flopping down, so Shongile, the beautiful one, is sleeping off to the right there, and Karula's got something up her nose, probably Khosana's fur. The portrait of a Friday afternoon family life for the leopards of Djuma. And when Brent finds those mating leopards, because I have absolute faith in his ability to do so, when Brent finds those mating leopards, we will have 5 different leopards on screen, mating, and then the product of many, many months ago when Karula mated with the cub's father. Oh, they're so gorgeous. So absolutely gorgeous. Look at his expression. What you watching? What you seeing? One thing that we do each and every time we see these magnificent cats is we put them into a database called Panthera. Now, this is something that we haven't touched on yet, but today is in fact International Tigers Day, and we at the Wild Earth family, along with everybody else around the world, are celebrating both the tigers and what International Tigers Day actually represents, which is, of course, the protection of all kinds of endangered species. Now, there might be more leopards than tigers, but they're still incredibly valuable. And the research that Panthera does and that we help them to do, up she goes into the tree. She's going to go and munch on some more of that impala. Such grace and dignity. Oh yes, the research that Panthera does, incredibly valuable in terms of determining the number of different leopards in an area, their paternity, getting to know a little bit more about these amazing cats. Let's go back a little bit and we will have a look at her from a different angle. Since the cubs are largely flat and hidden away on the bank, let's reposition ourselves ever so slightly and we can keep talking about International Tigers Day. So, truly valuable species in terms of conservation, one that I absolutely dream of seeing one day. It would be incredible to witness. Let's just concentrate on getting you a good view. It's going to be a bit tricky. Cool, perfect. Thank you, Dave. She's eating away at whatever's left of the carcass. I have to tell you, I think it's going to fall out in the next, I think by the end of this tonight, it's going to have fallen out of the tree. Now, just quickly, the valuable research that Panthera does, they also do with tigers throughout Asia and Eastern Asia, in terms of keeping track of them, learning a bit more about their DNA and their paternities and their behaviors, mapping their genome, which in turn brings us really truly valuable research in conservation terms. Something that's exceptionally important to remember, that for all endangered creatures, having a research organization like that is incredibly valuable in terms of protecting them and looking after them. So we would like you all to join us on this International Tigers Day, not just in terms of celebrating tigers and the amazing animals that they are, but also all of our endangered big cats and our endangered animals in general. And of course, oh, hold on, one of them cubs is coming. Oh, she lay down. Exactly where Dave won't be able to see her. I thought she was going to come and join Mom up the tree. Or he, actually. The cub's eye colours have changed a little bit since I last saw them. Shungile's are not as brown, and her brothers are slightly browner. Or that's what it feels like to me, anyway. You can hear the gentle crunching of bone as Karula chews around the rib cage of this female impala. A seriously impressive feat that she managed to accomplish there, dragging it up into the tree. Apparently, according to Brent, she had it up in that tree when there was still lots and lots of meat left in it. At which point, that impala probably weighed about Karula's size. She truly is a powerful cat. Because imagine trying to lift your own body weight up a tree, using only your teeth and your fingernails. I know it's something I harp on about, but just imagine it. Because it really does go to show what incredible creatures leopards truly are. And welcome to Monty on our sunset safari as we wait for these leopards to find themselves a more observable position. I've mentioned that the cubs are growing up. They feel as though they certainly no longer have that soft, fuzzy look to them, and they're starting to look like little sleek miniatures of their mother. Monty wants to know when they will go on their first hunt. Monty, they've probably been on their first hunt already. The leopards are not like cheetah or lion, where they take their cubs with them whenever they go hunting. In fact, almost always they actually leave them behind until they are almost at the age of independence. However, what leopards do and the way that leopard cubs learn is they hunt themselves. They practice and they hunt themselves. So they've probably already practiced stalking things like francolin or dwarf mongoose, whatever movement has attracted their attention, or each other's tails. Even that valuable playing is learning and practicing the skills that they will need at a later stage. Crunch goes the impala. So Monty, it will be only really when the cubs are quite a lot older that Mom... It's not unheard of for a female leopard to bring back prey that's still alive and to lead her cubs to it, or to bring it to her cubs and let them try and kill it. So it does happen. They're not really cooperative hunters, though, so a female leopard doesn't really want her little cubs scampering about her when she's hunting. And their state of survival is too tenuous for them to be able to do that. So it's not that she takes them on their first hunt, it's that they learn to hunt themselves. And the moment that we first see them with their first kill, I think we'll all feel a sense of pride, as if we've somehow contributed in any way to that, which of course we haven't. But there will be a sense of pride when they first catch, or at least we first see them catching their first prey. I look forward to it tremendously. Now generally, the little girl, the female, will start to hunt and to practice those sorts of skill more and more regularly than her brother. Her hunting efforts will also take her farther afield, because female leopard cubs tend to show much more independence than their male counterparts at an earlier age. As to why that might be, we don't really 100% know. It does sort of make sense. Flies everywhere, thanks to the carcass. It makes sense because the males, of course, need a little bit of extra time spent with mom and extra time gathering their strength, because life for a young male is more dangerous than it is for a young female, and the young females get a portion of their mother's territory, usually. Not always, it's not always as simple as that, but they usually do. So they can afford to be independent a little bit younger. And there's also the fact, I suppose, something that occurs to me is that they're gearing up for being able to, or having to, support youngsters of their hunting skills, not just themselves. Now, they have to perfect those skills as quickly as possible, because by 2, they will be sexually mature and ready to have their first litter of cubs. And it's very, very important that they can support. They have the skills to support not only themselves, but their little ones as well. Something, of course, that Karula is tremendously good at. In a world where raising leopard cubs is exceptionally difficult and the rate of failure is unbelievably high, Karula is a cat that beats the odds. Somehow. Her ability to hoist an adult female impala is probably one of the big reasons why she is so successful. I also think she's got wisdom in where she places the cubs, where she leaves them. There's no denying that Karula's been incredibly successful, statistically more successful than any leopard I've ever heard of. Hey girl, you're doing well. And welcome to Kelly. It is wonderful to have you on board, and I hope you are enjoying this wildlife spectacle that we have to offer you. Now, Kelly wants to know if the cubs will climb up into the tree like Mom to eat, or if she will bring food down for them. Kelly, they'll climb up. They've been climbing since they were a couple of weeks old, albeit not always entirely successfully, but at this point now, at nearly 6 months old, and they're very, very close to being 6 months old, they have perfected the art, almost, sort of tree climbing, and they're more than happy to go up into trees. And even from about 4 months of age, when they were totally weaned, we were watching them climb into trees to feed off the carcass. And the little ones would sort of clamber on top of it and spread eagle themselves to stay balanced over it, and then munch away at it. Crunching away. Oh, whoopsie. Oh, she was going to fall out of the tree there. I actually got a fright. But it was just the carcass slipping. This is awesome. Now what I'm really hoping is that most people would have had their fill of this sighting this morning, and that we can sit here for the rest of the afternoon, spend some time with the cubs playing around as it starts to get a bit cooler, and therefore their energy levels start to get higher. But Karula's presenting us with a fantastic view. The true stereotype of a leopard up in the tree with a dangling impala. I read a story recently about a leopard in the Skukuza rest camp in Kruger National Park that strung the impala kill right up above, in the tree above where the restaurant is. Something that I absolutely cannot imagine, but must be incredible. And whenever I think of leopards with their kills in trees, there's so many different images that pop back into my head of beautiful sightings that I've had to enjoy. Hello, girl. Now, guys, I'm sure you're wondering about how Brent's leopard search is going, and I'm sure he would like to give you a quick update on that. He hasn't found them yet, but perhaps he can give you a little bit more information about how that search is going.
We've sat very quietly and we haven't heard anything again. And I'm now just doing a little zigzag through here. And zigzag is the word due to the elephant activity around here. And every time you think you found a path, there's a fallen tree in the way. And lovely open blocks. Once we get some rain, grass will be very happy to have all that tree cover above them. I'm still convinced that they're around here somewhere. So what often happens during the heat of the day, the mating will slow down a bit. So when it's cool, they are very vigorous. And during the heat of the day, which it is now, that mating slows down. So it could be as long as 20 minutes or half an hour in between mating sessions. Oh, so while we keep checking for these mating leopards, Jamie's got a leopard up a tree.
From the search for mating leopards to a leopard munching away on her impala lunch, I think that this will be potentially the last that we get to see of her, at least in this place, since the kill is nearly finished. Sorry, I'm just listening to the game drive updates from Ephraim, and apparently there is another dead elephant on Buffelshoek. So the lions are going to be having an absolute field day. It is starting, I think it is starting to be the result of the drought. Some of the older elephants, that's normal though for the dry season, is as the level of nutrition gets lower and lower in the plant material that they're eating, the older elephants start to die around the dry season. The food is just too hard for them to eat with their worn down teeth. Unfortunately, another elephant has died in Buffelshoek, but it will be providing food for the rest of the animals in this area for weeks and weeks to come. Audrey, you wanted to know whether I've ever seen a leopard fall out of the tree, because we were discussing the cubs' tree climbing skills, and of course we've seen them fall out of the tree, and other leopard cubs countless times. But Audrey wanted to know, Audrey, by the way, is 12 years old, if I've ever seen one fall out of the tree and get hurt. The answer is no, I have never seen a leopard fall out of the tree and injure itself. They are very, very good at covering up for a fall and landing on their feet, just like domestic house cats. However, Audrey, I have seen a leopard fall.
So we're sitting quietly and listening again, hoping to hear that very distinct. What? I'm sure I turn that off. Oh, I have two. So you can see it's a very clear day. Blue skies. And we have some gorgeous light a little later. And I'm really hoping to put some leopards in it. Come on, make another noise. Now, we're sitting on the crest of a little hillock here, and the tree species that dominate these areas are marillas, terminalias, and bush willows. The odd acacia, not too many, and also you get these monkey orange thickets. And the elephants have done a nice job of clearing out some of these monkey orange thickets. Sorry, I just got to chat to Orby quickly. He's helping us look for these leopards. Orbs, I was on Mvubu when I heard the audio. I'm now standing by in the center of that block between the firebreak and Gari cut line, just trying to wait for them to mate again. Now it's incredible. Oh, it sounds like Jamie's back and she's still with those wonderful leopards. So while we try and find these other leopards, let's go see.
That was very strange, a random and very unexpected attack of the gremlins. So we're sorry we disappeared off your screen. Oh, what have you got there, Karula? Mouthful of something that she does. She spat it out. I think it was a clump of skin and hair. We were busy talking about Audrey's question, about whether or not I've seen leopards fall out of trees, and I was saying that yes, I have, and whilst they don't tend to injure themselves, they definitely look thoroughly embarrassed by their faux pas. We saw it with Tingana once, where he tried to pull a warthog up into a tree, but completely underestimated, I think, the sort of verticalness of the tree itself and also the weight of the warthog. And he sort of fell out. It wasn't my sighting, I think it was with James. But it was absolutely, I watched it later, it was hilarious, the expression on his face, that sheepish look. And they sort of try and put it off like they meant to do that all along, but you know different, and they know you know different. Honestly, I'm sure that's quite anthropomorphic. Oh, this carcass is about to come out. This is very, very close to coming out of the tree. It is now being held in the tree by one leg. At least I think that's the case. Yeah, it's just one leg that's holding it up there. The rest of it is dangling, and it is going to come tumbling down. Karula's not too worried about keeping it up there, though. Okay, so she stops feeding. I think it might be nice to go and see what those cubs are up to. And see whether or not they are visible. I don't think they are. I think that they've gone flat down underneath this tree. It's a lovely tree. Looks like a gardenia, actually. Bushveld gardenia. That she's managed to put the kill in. And the cubs are sleeping somewhere underneath there. So we'll go forward and we'll just have a look. I just wanted to contact Ephraim very briefly on the Game Drive channel before I do. Ephraim, you're welcome to make your way. Both Fuzzy and the Mapimpuns are on the bank here, on the eastern side. Just telling Ephraim where to go in, because he wants to come and join us, but he's got to do it from a different angle to us, otherwise he's not going to see anything. Very, very little left of this carcass, except for the meat on the legs and a bit of the neck and the head. I've seen Karula with smaller antelope. I've seen her eat an entire steenbok from start to finish in about, I would say about 40 minutes. In my mind it seemed faster, which is why I often said it felt like 20 minutes, but it was probably about 40 minutes. She ate the entire thing, bones and all. So it's not true that lions and leopards don't eat bones. They're not as good as it as hyena are, and they will tend to leave the larger bones alone, but they are more than capable with their jaw pressure of crunching through the smaller bones, the bones like the ribs, particularly the ends of the rib cage. They can and they will eat through that. With things like monkeys, they will consume the entire animal. And Kelly Brewer, it is lovely to have you on board. Kelly says that this is actually her first safari experience and that she's checking it out for her kindergarten students. Oh, I'm sorry to present you with a slightly gory view of our leopards, but that is simply the way of things out here. Kelly, it's wonderful to have you on board. And just so you know, we do actually gear different drives towards, so usually a portion of our drive is very often geared towards school kids of different ages. So it's something that I particularly really love doing. And we are on every day, twice a day, and you're more than welcome to jump on board with us with absolutely any time. And we can also answer the kids' questions for them, so they get to hear their names as well on a live safari. Okay, let's reposition ever so slightly and see whether or not those cubs are there. I'm just looking at the vulture that is flying over. I wonder if Karula's going to be spotted. I think she's been spotted. I can't see it. It's just above Dave's head, unfortunately. Maybe not. That's why leopards like to hide their kills in such dense trees, because it protects them from the eyes of scavenging birds that might then be responsible for putting the kill down onto the ground. Right, keep your eyes on the here, obviously, because we've just seen them. Let's try and get a different view. I think Karula's going to come down relatively soon. Where are you, little bundles of fluff? Where on earth did you go? Oh, no. Can't see them. You got him? Me neither. Did you go into the drainage line, maybe? They must be playing somewhere off, just out of view. I think I see a flickering shadow. No, that's Karula's shadow. Huh. Imagine that. 2 little leopard cubs have vanished. Am I being dense? I don't think so. I think they must have moved further in. Okay, let's try. Rather than repositioning like this, let's go up onto the bank and see what our view is like. Our view is like up from there. Otherwise, we'll stick with our view of Karula. We're definitely not complaining. Watch your head there, Dave. Now, while I do this backwards, I'm not quite sure why I decided it was a good idea to do this backwards. Let's go back over to Brent and find out a little bit more about his search for the mating leopards. It's actually quite a good view.
Well, mating leopards are very much a sort of rush and wait type of track. So we've rushed, and now we're waiting. Just waiting for that sound to pierce through the still afternoon air. And when I say still, I can hear one hornbill. The odd insect, but at this time of the day is when the bush is actually its most quiet. Come on, guys, mate again. So the problem is every time we move, if they mate while we're moving in the car, oops, our chances are fail a lot of finding them. So the reason, you'll notice that occasionally when you come to me, my radio is on. It's because I need my ears. So Jean-Ray kindly listens to Final Control for me, and I actually take my earpiece off. But also Aubrey is looking for these leopards as well. So I actually need to have the game drive comms on. But even if they're on down there, but not in my ears, my hearing is much, much better. Okay, so we're just going to have a quick, oh, no, I thought I heard something. I think it's a car though. I mean, look at this, you can see the power of an elephant next to us here. I just pushed down that marula tree, and I can tell you that's a big elephant. Probably a big bull, because of where the tree is broken. So if it had been a female, it would have fallen a bit lower to the ground. It's incredibly impressive to be able to break something like that. Okay, we're going to move it on again a little bit in the bush, in the block here. There you go, look at that. Oh, one lone Franklin. Okay, so let's move on. So I'm not moving very far, I just sort of go maybe 100, not even meters at a time before I stop, switch off and listen. I'm convinced that we heard them in this general area. Now, if it is Mr. Djuma mating the ghost from the north, it could be very interesting, because we're probably going to have to stay quite far back. I know quite a few people have been asking if there's any noticeable sign of anything from that little bit of rain. Well, only one plant has really sprung to life after the rain. And we've got a whole little group of it here. The baboon's tail. You can see all the greenery, and hopefully we're going to be seeing those beautiful little light purple flowers in the next couple of days. It's only the first to flower after the dry season if there's a little bit of rain. So while we continue our listening game, let's go see those wonderful leopards with Jamie.
I'm also playing a little bit of a listening game, seeing if perhaps I can't hear the cubs rustling off in the bush to give me an idea as to where they might be. Obviously, we're sitting right below this enormous sandbank, so for now we're going to settle for this view of Queen Karula, because we've actually got a nice spot here. And what a peaceful way to spend a Friday afternoon, just sitting and watching her as she consumes what's left of her impala meal. And it just goes to show how voracious these little cubs' appetites are, because between 3 leopards, they've finished off an adult impala in pretty much 24 hours. It'll be just over 24 hours by the time they finish it, which is most impressive. I've been checking the trees, I've been looking all over for them. My only suggestion is that they've gone to lie down in the shade, a little bit away from where we are now, just outside of our view. Now we settle with the view of Queen Karula. It gives us a nice opportunity to spend some time with her, because I think whenever she's with her cubs, I think we get very distracted by their antics. And it's nice to just reacquaint ourselves and spend some time with her and watching her. And of course her 2 oldest daughters also have cubs. Shadow has got one 5-month-old cub, or nearly 5 months old. We're not sure exactly how old Shadow's cub is. She's close to 5 months now. And then Tundi has 2 confirmed new cubs. I'm not sure whether anybody's given you that update, actually. It is confirmed that it's 2.
We haven't moved far, we're sitting quietly again. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get out of the block now. I'm going to check on the fire break. Just maybe check a little bit back towards the top of that little river system. Oh, there we go. Little Coqui Franklins. Very cool little birds. That's a female. I'm sure we'll spot the male if we look carefully. That's a little female Coqui Franklin. Let's move a little bit forward. Maybe we'll see the male. Now, their call is one of the more amusing. The best way to describe it is it sounds like a rusty bed spring. I thought I saw some movement around here that could be the male. Ah, there we go. Underneath that little arch there, Jean-Ray, that one there. Oh, disappearing. There's the male with the orange or burnt orange head. Oh, there we go. Off they go. Oh, very strange little call, little contact call from the Franklins. Talking to each other. No sound of those leopards yet. Actually, almost an ideal temperature. I mean, shorts, sandals, shirt, 27 degrees. Wonderful. Of course, as that sun dips below the horizon, it's going to get quite chilly quite quickly. Come on, kitties. Lynn, hi. And Lynn's in sunny Florida. And Lynn would like to know if there are any carnivorous plants in and around the Kruger. There's one or two, Lynn, but they're very, very rare. You generally find carnivorous plant species either to be in very harsh climates, so either desert or rainforest. I'm trying to think. The Stapeda or carrion flower. That sort of smells more like carrion to get pollinated rather than actually carnivorous. Although some flies and that do get stuck in that smelly sap and does give them some nutrients, but it's not the main reason. John, can you think of any carnivorous plants in Kruger? Normally deserts and rainforests tend to have those. Come on, kitty cats. Look, no, it attracts flies for pollination, not for eating. So it seems like Wendy's found a gremlin nest. Hopefully she'll be up and running shortly. We do apologize for all the bashing and crashing and the noises that you might be picking up as we move off-road through the bush, but hopefully it's going to be worth it. There are mating leopards if you're late to the Safari Live party on this Friday evening somewhere around here, so we're trying our best to find them. Unfortunately, that does sometimes take us a wee away from the beaten track. Of course, if I see anything else interesting while I'm looking for these leopards, I will stop, such as those little Coqui Franklin we just saw. Okay. Ooh, there's a car killer I'm trying to avoid. An old redwood stump. Yeah. And we're getting to one of my least favorite types of area in Djuma, and that is the monkey orange thicket. I'm going to try and avoid as much of it as possible. It is incredibly noisy to drive through. Look for tracks on this open patch here. Now, of course, Jamie's been telling you it's International Tiger Day, and Panthera is a worldwide organization for the conservation of big cats, and of course we collect all those scat samples around the Sabi Sands of the leopards for genetic tests. We've got a couple of multiple projects going on. One is paternity. The more important thing is when they manage to confiscate or find illegally obtained leopard skins. There we go. And the genetics of those skins, we can determine where those leopards came from. There we go. So it's really important, and as nice as it is for us to know that the paternity of our leopards, and there's always a lot of speculation about who's the daddy of our leopards, and as a lot of people look at spot patterns and similar markings on the coat, saying, oh, it's the same as Tingana and stuff, and it's probably one of the worst ways to try get paternity, because the spot patterns and the spot variations probably has about as much to do with telling who is the leopard's father, or mother for that matter, as let's think of a nice analogy. So probably you got about as much chance as oh, sorry, I'll back in a second. I just thought I saw a track here. So difficult after the rain. Yeah. Sorry about that. I got distracted. I thought I saw just the hint of a leopard pad on the sand. But as I was saying, you have about as much chance as identifying. Oh, I can't think of something to compare it to. John, can you think of anything? No. Well, that's not a good sign when you're looking for a leopard in front of us. Maybe they're a bit further to the north. So we were just over there when we heard it. I was pretty sure it was in this area, the top of this little river system. And we got some Inyala there now. Maybe they were heading a bit east. So I'm going to drive out and then go onto the fire break, and we'll switch off there and listen again for a while. Oh yes, there we are. I think I've thought of something. I said that with the leopard spots and similar markings on their face and stuff like that, the chances of being able to identify paternity or maternity from those type of markings is about as likely as identifying where every paperclip in the world was made. Okay, so while we continue our endeavours after these mating felines, Jamie is with some other felines in the riverbed.
Not just the other felines, but also the little cubs that we have since found while you were away. The tech team has been battling our gremlins. Look who is sleeping behind a log. Can you see her yet? Because she is very, very difficult to spot. There she is, hidden behind a fallen piece of wood, fast asleep. At least I think it's her. I think it's the female. And then, if we go up along the bank a little bit, I'm just trying to see if you'll be able to see it. If you go a bit to that big tree, Dave, in front of you, on the leftish, there you go. Just keep going, because behind that is leopard cub number 2. There you go. You can just see some spots there. If you look really carefully in the middle of your screen, there's little breathing leopard spots. And both little ones breathing very rapidly, because they've got incredibly full bellies. These little cubs have become so much more comfortable around vehicles, but if we try and reposition now, we are going to scare them. And I really, really don't want to do that. We've spent so much time getting them used to us. It's just disrespectful. So we'll wait for them to wake up a little bit and to start moving around. As I said, as it starts to get cooler, they will start to be more active. But at the moment, they have very full bellies. Hello, little one. I see you. Dave can't see you, but I can see you looking at us. You want to come around this side? Oh, little one. Just in the wrong place. I can just see an ear. poking out over the top of the tree. Come on, little one. Well, we definitely won't disturb the afternoon nap of the two little ones. On the one hand, they feel as though they've grown so much, but on the other they still look so very small and vulnerable. They are so utterly adorable. Hey, little munchkins. Just looking back, because of the constant sound of chewing, here comes Karula, Dave. Constant sound of Karula's chewing has stopped, and she's going to come down the tree. Awesome. Now she's looking for them. She might even call them to her. Yeah, she's chuffing. I love that sound. Chuff, chuff. Hey, big girl. Do you have a very full belly now? I love that. The first thing she does as soon as she comes down the tree after she's finished her meal is to call across to them. And she's probably already figured out exactly where they are. Although, perhaps not. She still seems to be looking around. And giving herself a jolly good clean. Now, this is a very difficult sighting for Dave, just by the way, just in terms of the lighting, because Karula keeps plonking herself in the shadows, but with the incredibly bright and sunny light, it is quite tricky for him to be able to get the amount of detail that we normally are able to show you. But that's going to change as we spend our afternoon here with this wonderful leopard family. It'll make life a lot easier as the sun starts to set. Girl, fastidiously cleaning off all vestiges of her meal, any bits of rotten meat that might be clinging to her fur, she will get rid of. Leopards are much more clean animals than lions are. They're a lot more, as I said, fastidious about their general hygiene and condition. But all big cats will, after feeding on a kill, they'll spend quite a lot of time cleaning their paws, and in particular their claws. They'll stretch them out and unsheath them and clean around them, because the last thing they want is a build-up of meat or grit or dirt around those very sensitive claw sheaths, because the claw fits into the sheath in a very, very smooth and tight way. And if they allow something to get in there, first of all, they run the risk of an abscess or infection, and also it stops the claw from working as it should. It's very, very important for her to keep those feet clean, if nothing else. That being said, you still don't want to cuddle a wild leopard. They are parasite-ridden. They've got lots of ticks. They've got lots and lots of intestinal parasites, and all other kinds of things like small parasitic worms swimming in their saliva. You don't really want to handle it with any cuts here that comes up. He's going to make his way to Mom, I think. Come on, little one. You were playing so nicely with Mom earlier. There we go. Oh. Going from one spot to an even less visible spot. Fair enough. What you doing, little one? Is that where you're going to stay? In the meantime, it seems as though, from what I can see, unfortunately... Oh, there we go, Shungila's up. I'm almost certain that's her. Oh, or not. She's going to go flat too. Hey, Karula, don't you want to give your cubs a call? Tell them to come out and play. We are so privileged to spend time with these animals. Sorry, Dave, I know you've just turned all the way to Karula, but Shongile's just caught... hold on. She just caught a stick. It was really cute. She caught that sticking out stick. And she's going to go stalk her brother, I think. Oh, look at that big round belly. I have to tell you something. To me, I think I've been aging leopard cubs wrong my whole guiding career, because I've never actually sat with them from such a young age. And I never realized just how small a 6-month-old cub truly is. These guys are very, very tiny still. But we know exactly how old the cubs are because Brent found them the day that they were born. And what's interesting to note, though, is the change in the way that they respond to things. When they were little cubs, their entire world revolved around their mother. Whenever we saw them with Mom, she was the center of their existence. They followed her example, and they hid from everything else. Now, when we're watching them, there's this streak of independent light in their eyes. And whenever they see something like a bird or a squirrel or anything that moves, they're almost constantly on the lookout and alert and curious. That's all part of their natural development, of course, and the natural aging process. But it is incredible to witness. And Karula calmly looks on. She's been there, done that. This is now her 5th litter of cubs that she's raised to this age. And Chloe, you want to know whether or not the mothers and offspring will stay on sort of familiarity terms with each other. You're saying you know that leopards are solitary, but do they ever meet up when they are adults? And yes, actually, we enjoyed a sighting, or Brent enjoyed a sighting a couple of months ago where we had Shadow and Karula on their territorial boundary. Chloe, I definitely wouldn't have called that a cordial reunion. So when they are well and truly adult, well and truly independent, then the females actually growl at each other. They'll tolerate each other, and they probably won't fight unless there's cubs involved, but they sort of sat and growled for ages at each other. Karula, of course, one of our favorite stories and one of Brent's most fantastic photos was she blew a giant bubble of spit while she was growling at her daughter. Their sons are a little different. Their sons are treated with slightly more tolerance during the initial stages of their independence and dispersal. And then once they go and once they move off, familiarity in leopard terms can mean a lot of different things. If a female leopard were to encounter her grown-up son, and he had become dominant in an area and she was in estrus, she would mate with him. It is just the way that the world works out here. Very, very different in terms of their basic instincts and not guided by the same morals or whatever values that human beings are guided by. So lions will mate with their own daughters or brothers or sisters, and leopards will do the same if they encounter them. That's one of the big reasons why the females stay in an area where they are much more likely to encounter their mother, but the males move off, and sometimes even dispersing distances of 200 miles. And welcome to Abigail, who would like to know who this lovely leopard is on her screen. Abigail, it is fantastic to have you on board, and I really hope you are enjoying it. Abigail, this is probably one of the most famous leopards in the entire world. Her name is Karula, which means peace, or the peaceful one. She is now 12 years old, and as I was discussing earlier, has probably one of the most successful rates of raising cubs to adulthood of any other leopard that has ever been recorded. She really truly is a fantastic mom. Very, very successful. So she's got 2 little bundles of joy with her at the moment, 6 months old, called Shungile and Hosanna, and they are playing hard to get right now. They're playing a little bit camera shy. But Karula, as always, is perfectly comfortable with the presence of the vehicles, and as a result she has taught her cubs to do so too. And some of our viewers have been watching since basically, or been keeping track of Karula since the day she was born, and have watched a great deal of her life play out on these live safaris. So Abigail, welcome. It is my absolute pleasure and a privilege to introduce you to Karula, a leopard that we probably spend, I would say we spend the most time with in terms of hours out here, and one that we have come to know and love. And her 2 little ones that I can't really see, but Dave has spotted. I can just see movements and twitching of the ears. Just little shapes moving behind the trees. You got it there. Some spots. Swishing paws and tail. What we will do is we will have a chance to reposition, but not just yet. So we'll just wait for our turn in order to get a better view of these little cubs. And there we go, back to the original topic of conversation, a question from Jane. We've discussed the way in which male leopard cubs disperse farther away from their mothers than the females do. And Jane wants to know, how far will a male leopard travel? Sometimes, Jane, it's just a matter of a couple of miles. So, for example, Karula's son, Shumbambalana, he's the dominant male leopard towards the Kruger National Park, not at all far away from where we are now, probably in a straight line, a distance of 4 or so miles, just about 7 kilometers, depending on which system you're working in. And of course my mile conversion is always atrocious. And then one of the biggest recorded distances was from the park in the KwaZulu National Tel. No, none of that sentence came out right. KwaZulu-Natal, one of the national parks in KwaZulu-Natal, Shihlui Umfolozi, a male leopard was recorded dispersing from his mother to Kruger National Park, which is a distance of roughly 500 or so odd kilometers, no more, must be about 800 or so kilometers, let's say 600 kilometers. So they can disperse an enormous distance, because of course until they find a vacuum, a territorial vacuum, or until they are strong enough to compete for territory, they'll just keep moving until they manage to get large enough to defend their own area. And then sometimes they get lucky. Karula's son Kunuma is busy mating with one of the females on Londolozi at, 3.5, maybe nearly 4? How interesting is that? He just happened to find himself in a really truly good position. The lions killed a dominant male leopard in that area, and Kunuma snuck in. But one thing that I have heard about, I've never seen him, or I've seen him once, but very briefly. The one thing I have heard in terms of stories of Kunuma is that he has no shortage of attitude. Quarantine as well, growling at his older brother at a very young age. It's interesting. I suspect the mating leopard is Djuma. Sorry, just a little aside from my thought pattern. I think perhaps that mating leopard is Djuma. And that he is... Now, Djuma is a very, very skittish male leopard, which might make him a bit harder to find. And if he runs, even if he's mating with Shaluva, who's relatively relaxed, if he runs away, she will follow him. And Drukky Space, who is a new viewer, just bear with me 1 second. Are you off? Do you want me to move? My cub apparently is up again. I can't see it. Sorry, Drukky Space, who is a new viewer. Welcome. It's so special to have you on board. I'm glad we could present you with this amazing sighting that we are enjoying on a Friday afternoon. And Drukky, you said, well, we give the leopards names with a question mark. How do we know which is which? And the answer is, officially, scientifically, each and every leopard has a unique spot pattern, both just in terms of the arrangement of their spots, and also, on a slightly closer level of examination, the top row of their whisker spots will have either 2, 3, or 4 dots to them. And so they become known as sort of the 3-4 female or the 4-4 female in one particular area. That being said, Drukky, it honestly gets to the point where you spend so much time with these animals, watching them, that you actually know them almost straight away, just from their look. They start to look as different to you as different people do. It's an interesting effect, but it really is, I found it to be absolutely true. The more time you spend with them, for example, I'm pretty sure that I could come upon 3 lionesses and immediately know that they're the Nkuhumas and not the sticks, just by looking at them. Okay, as soon as Ephraim has moved a little way away, then we can switch on and reposition for the cubs. I'm just waiting. I don't want 2 engines or 2 vehicles on at the same time in the sighting. Just minimizes the amount of noise interference that happens in these cats' lives. So Drukky, wonderful to have you. I'm also pleased to introduce you and Abigail and all our new viewers to the lovely Queen Karula. A leopard that, as I said, we've come to know very, very well. All right. Now, speaking of Queen Karula and her little delicious monsters, or whatever else it is that Brent calls them, because it just amuses me so much. He's definitely soppier than I am when it comes to baby leopards and lions. We're going to go forward a little bit and see if we can't get a different view. Where are you, you little monsters? Where'd you go? Aha! I see you. I see you. Sorry, Dave, we're going to have to, I think, just tell me if you can see them from this angle. A little bit more, you say? Just a bit further into this thorn tree, you mean? Cool. I've found myself in a precarious position right now, but that's okay. It's worth it for this view. Hello, little ones. Are you exhausted? So much growing and so much eating over the last 24 hours. 2 very content little leopard cubs are fast asleep. And just by the way, there are other vehicles wanting to come into the sighting, but Mike will only be able to come into the sighting once Ephraim has moved off Djuma. There's an order to the way in which vehicles can come in, so we're not keeping anybody's spot in this particular moment. We're just enjoying some time spent with them. The other guys have rushed off to look for Cheetah around Buffelshoek. Yeah, such a picture of contentment. Just one little ear twitching every now and again. The male in the front and the female at the back. And you can actually really see the difference in size. And Darlene, absolutely there is a difference between leopard cubs and lion cubs that you've picked up on and observed. The little lion cubs that we have are much more boisterous, and they seem to have almost non-stop energy. They're constantly barreling about, well, almost constantly barreling about, doing something. There's definitely a contrast with the leopards. They are much less, as you said, they're a bit more introverted and a bit more retiring. And that is instinctive. That's a difference in character. Because if you think about it, a leopard is a secretive creature. It's a secretive, solitary, almost lonely figure, although of course that is the way that they have evolved and prefer it. Whereas in the complete opposite, lions are 100% social cats. The company of their pride members will be a staple sort of security for their entire lives. It's not something that the leopard cubs will have to enjoy. I don't know what extent sibling recognition happens, or recognition of their family once they grow up. I think they probably know each other and tolerate each other. But they ultimately are destined for, unless for the female, when she has cubs, they're pretty much destined for a solitary life. So what's the point in... Oh, I forgot that there were thorns there. That was, unpleasant. It's okay. I've been leaning over my monitor. I forgot that there was a thorn tree behind me. I'm in the thorn tree. It's okay. Not a problem. It was just that one branch happened to spear me in the back. Here we go. Solved. Problem solved. So yes, there is a very big difference, Darlene, in terms of our little leopard cub's behavior. It sounds as though Brent is calling in reinforcements in order to help him out. And I also need to get onto the Game Drive channel to find out who is coming here next and when they are planning on arriving. I'm going to hop onto the Game Drive channel, and while I do, let's go back to Brent, who is also searching for spotted cats.
So we are indeed searching for spotted cats, but two varieties. We're looking for spotted little lion cubs at the moment. Herbert found the den. I think it's here. I'm just having a look at Herbert's tracks. And he told me... Right here, and I can see his tracks here. He said there's a little drainage line, so I think the lion cubs might be in there. So I just want to see if Mom's here. And it's also very close to where we heard those leopards. He did say it was quite steep around these parts. Okay, let's see if we can spot a little lion cub, a little spotty creature. Now for me, I think we're looking in the wrong place. Just see where Herbie's track's gone. I don't believe she would have put the cubs there. This is actually quite a big elephant path, so it could be a bit of a danger coming through here for those cubs. Let's have a closer look at where Herb's tracks went. I'm incredibly lucky with all the cubs around at the moment. I can see, there we go, there's Herb's tracks. Ah, they go down there. Let's just make it doubly sure. Yeah. See the tracks. Oh, it looks like he just turned around here. Maybe he was looking for a way to get in. You see any vehicle tracks your side there, John Ray? No, he brought the car in. Have a look to see if we can get a car into this lion den. No vehicle tracks here. Let's just have a look from that high ground. So I'm following his directions to the T. Go straight from that small leadwood. You will see my Movo and Cons on my vehicle tracks. Just checking in that Timberti thicket. Can't see anything there. Apparently our vehicle sounds like it's roaring while we're in low range, so lots of torque. Okay, so here's Herbie's tracks. They come in here. Don't quite go to the let's just have a look. Maybe if we have a look down off this little cliff edge. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Trying to listen to see if I can hear any of those little lion cub sounds they make when mom's around. Nope. But it is a beautiful spot. As I said, it's one of my favorite areas to walk is down here. Conundrums. Well, anyhow, we'll have to ask Herbie tomorrow where the lion cubs are. But if they are down in the base there, we're unfortunately not going to get a vehicle in there. It is incredibly thick, and with that steep bank, not even our wonderful little vehicles that are so good at off-roading are going to be able to get down there. Just have a look if Herb didn't try and go in over here. There's a bit of a spit. It doesn't look like it. Nope. So we're going to keep checking for those leopards. I'm going to do another loop around this block and see what else we might see on our loop. So we've got some spies out there looking for the leopards. So we saw there's some baboons moving through there. There's some kudu, there's some nyala, there's some impala. So if those leopards pop out somewhere over there, we've got a good chance that one of those creatures will see them and start alarm calling. Now, what often happens with mating leopards for some reason, as we scour and search for them, sort of as drive ends, they pop out at the Djuma dam cam. So, who knows, keep a lookout on the Djuma dam cam. Who knows, after drive they might pop there for a little visit. And in my reinforcements, it looks like Ephraim. F's also trying to help me find these leopards. So if he's waiting down here, I'm going to go up to the other side. Oh, hey! Hello, everyone. Hi, F. You're good, thanks to yourself.
Good.
Yes, I heard them twice, and then nothing for an hour. middle of this block. I even drove into the block and I was sat there for half an hour.
Must be sometime you didn't cross the bubble soup.
I didn't check the boundary. I came to check this Ngala Den now, but Herbie and William found it now. But you can't get more. Not even these movers you can't get there.
Nah.
So I'm in the share now.
Okay.
And then last and Konzo and Gomas was somewhere in this block as well. This morning, yeah.
Hey, there's English so much steam that one.
Who do you think it is? Mvula?
Yeah, because Mvula here, Andrew was in Mvula last night. Was crossing in to...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
playing somewhere around.
maybe we'll get lucky.
I'll go around this way.
I'm going to go around the Mvubu.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Cheers, good luck.
Cheers, bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
We had a few photographers on that vehicle. Okay, sorry. I know there was a question, but I started yapping with Ephraim there. Haley! Haley would like to know what my favorite part of Djuma is. Oh, Haley, that's a difficult one. I think I've got a few favorite parts. I would say definitely that little river system we've just been looking into, and the section of the Mawati River here from where you can't drive anymore up to behind the Djuma or the Vuyatela Dam. That's exactly the area where Karula is at the moment. Where else? Yes, no, I think those are my two and the little drainage system between Ledwood Road and Mumba Road. And then on Cheetah Plains, there's no doubt which my favorite area is. It's that buff skull pan area. And you've got that red soil, those big leadwood trees, magnificent gardenia. Okay. So we're going back towards where we first heard those leopards mating. Now if we do have any new viewers, leopards mating has such a distinct sound, you can't really confuse it with anything in the bush. It sounds something like this. So, very distinct. Lions is a bit deeper. So, hopefully we'll find some very active and vigorous leopards in the quite near future. So while we do that, let's go have a look at some not so active little leopards.
Remember the time where Brent asked everybody to send through their best impression of a mating leopard sound? And as always, our viewers were terribly good sports and sent through some amazing little videos and screenshots and whatever it was that they sent it through. It was hilarious. But as Brent said, our little leopard cubs are currently, we would definitely describe them as flat cats. It's exhausting work doing all of that growing, particularly when you've got a full belly of impala. Time to settle and rest as we wait for it to get a little bit cooler. And Marga from Rosenberg, a really interesting point. Marga's point is, do I think that perhaps the slightly more extended lactation period of lions might account for the fact that they've got slightly more energy, since milk contains proteins and obviously is, first of all, much easier to digest in terms of its contents. It's much easier for the little leopard cubs or little cubs to absorb, and then obviously doesn't... they have very easy access to it. It's a very good point. The time spent suckling for lion cubs is not that much longer than leopard cubs, though. But I do think that there's slightly more extended absences from the mother. So I think that your point is entirely valid. When these two were little, they spent considerable periods of time, as they all leopard cubs do, up to 2 days at a time without their mother coming back to feed them. Whereas it seems as though, from what we've observed with the Nkuhumas, they seem to go back at least once a day to go and feed them. So I think that might also, it's a good point, they're a little bit younger, the lion cubs, and they're still suckling, so that might explain the extra energy. But I really, really think that the social aspect of it plays a huge difference in terms of their behavior and their attitude. I mean, look, we have seen these cubs play and boisterously bumble over each other and keep themselves thoroughly entertained. And as they start to grow older, they will also be thoroughly entertaining. We spent hours with Sindile just watching him do silly cub things, like climb into trees and fall out of them, or catch a dwarf mongoose, one very memorable sighting. But they're just doing and this is probably what the lion cubs would be doing if they'd just eaten a very big meal as well. Resting secretly in the drainage line, not drawing attention to themselves. Just enjoying a little moment of peace. And as it starts to get cooler, and we also see it in their tracks in the roads the next day after they have wandered around and about, and you can see where the cubs have been dashing all over the show, backwards, forwards, over mom's track, probably, and you can kind of picture in your mind, when you see those little footprints left in the sand, you can picture the sighting with a little cub gambling around and then running up to mom and rubbing up against her as they do. Oh, big stretch. Now, I know that Brent was discussing one of his favorite areas. This really, truly is one of mine as well. Sitting in this Mulwati drainage line, it does certainly help that we have a family of leopards with us to keep us entertained. But even if we didn't, sitting here and sort of, wheedling away the hours would be thoroughly pleasant in this particular spot. It smells fresh and clean. It's starting to get slightly cooler, but it was nice and shady from the warm afternoon, protected from the warm afternoon, I mean. It really truly is one of my favorite spots. And clearly, it's one of Karula's favorites as well. And the constant harsh call of a bushshrike. It was what you might be hearing. As I said that, it went completely quiet. Of course. That's a bit of Murphy's Law in there. Right, well, since our leopard cubs are being so thoroughly... Oh, we've got a foot movement. Stop the press. We've got some movement. One foot's gone up on a log. So cute. And Sarah Sharp, it's wonderful to have you with us. I hope you are enjoying the sighting of our lovely leopards. Now, Sarah, it's a good question. Sarah says her topic is her question is a little bit random and off topic. But it was, will any of the birds utilize the fur from the carcass to line their nests or to use it as sort of nest building material? Sarah, that's a really good question, because yes, some of the birds will do that. They will go and pick away tufts of fur that they happen to find, and they will use it as nest building material. I have even heard of birds plucking fur out of basically the hairballs that the big cats cough up, which is kind of gross, actually, when you think about it. But I have heard of that happening. I don't think it's all that common, though. But yes, birds will go down and pick up and utilize the hair of the carcass for lining their nests. And I can't think of a specific species that would do that. I don't think the raptor species really do it. But I'm sure some of the smaller passerines will. Particularly, obviously, not many of the birds are breeding at the moment. But they will start to in the next few months as we go into spring. Jean-Ray laughed at me this morning when I said I was full of the joys of spring. He told me that it's not spring. I disagree. It feels like spring. It's not really, though. Just the end of winter is slowly coming into sight. Okay, sleepy cats. Shall we go see your mum instead? I think so. Let's go see, since the light is so beautiful. Let's go and have a look at the mother of our two lovely creatures. And in that, while we reposition the vehicle and get a different view of Karula, let us jump back onto the back of Rusty. Couldn't remember which car I was on for a second. Let's jump back onto the back of the vehicle with Brent and find out how his search is going.
So we're still in search of these leopards. They are giving us a real run around. I'm thinking they might have then cut maybe northwest from where we heard them. So we're going to go check the top side of Mvubu Road. Fingers crossed. So I just got the report that there's another dead elephant in Buffel's Hook. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the Nkuhumas head there. With those little cubs, even if they go to that carcass, they might just feed for a day and then get out.